We shall try this again. Good afternoon, everybody. This meeting of the Woodland Park Board of Review on the 14th of July at 2:30 p.m. is hereby called to order. Madam Director, would you take roll call, please?
Sure. Vice Chair Jeff Smith.
Here.
Jeff Cahill.
Here.
Martine Vogel. Here. Cole Swenson. Absent. And Chair Mac McVicker.
Here. So we have a quorum.
Yes.
The meeting will continue. Thank you, ma'am. If everybody would join me, stand up. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. You're an honorably discharged vet. You may salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting on May the 12th. Our in-house proofreader is here, Mr. Cahill.
I can neither confirm nor deny because we had a computer glitch.
Oh, well, I did read it and I didn't see anything that needed changing. Mr. Burgess, who puts these together, did his normal outstanding job. We appreciate that. Thank you. Madam Director, did you have anything to say on it?
No, I do not.
Okay. That being the case, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes.
Just say so.
Yes, I so moved.
Second?
Second.
Been moved and second to accept the minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And before I forget, let me sign the official copy.
Thank you.
Moving down the agenda, the next item is consent items. We have none. Item number 5, complaints. We have none. And we're now down to item number 6, variance or appeals hearings. And before we get into the meat of the matter here, I have an administrative question for Mr. Nguyen. That is you, right? Yes. You just stay seated right there. I have 2 pieces of paper here. One of them says project information. And the next sheet in our package was building code variance request. There are 2 different addresses listed. And just I'd like you, if you don't mind, to state for the record so that going forward, everybody has the address that you actually do get your mail at. Which address do you want to use? The 5565 Broadmoor Bluffs or the 9380 Burgess Road?
If you would be able to mail it to 9380 Burgess Road, please.
Okay. But the minutes show that Mr. Nguyen has shown his desire to get all mail at 9380 Burgess Road. Thank you for that clarification. What we're going to do today, we've got another couple of administrative issues to get on the table and cleared up before we get into your actual variance request. I have a question for regional. There were a lot of dates discussed in the package for various things to be done. did the clock stop ticking on any of those or all of those dates when this appeal, this variance request was filed?
Roger Level Regional Building. The appeal process stayed the timeline, but did not delay the deadlines.
Okay, thank you. Well, since you have the mic and have it turned on, I will now let Regional go first. Whoever from your team wants to present first, go ahead.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, Michaela Salaji with Wilson
Oh,
Williams
I'm
Spellman
sorry.
Dittman. I am one of the city attorneys here. I work alongside Nina Williams. I would first just request that we open the public hearing. If we could, I didn't quite hear the magic words. And then if we could just follow the public hearing rules and order that's within the Board of Review, which I believe has the applicant presenting first,
Okay,
if
Thank
if that's okay. Thank
that's
you.
fine. That's fine. Thanks for reminding me of
No,
that.
thank you.
So in that case, Mr. Nguyen, you get the floor first. And anybody you have at your table is welcome to go first. We treat all of you collectively.
I'm David Langley, architect, local architect here representing Mr. Wing for the purposes of this appeal. And my office is 2 blocks away on Henrietta Street, has been since 1981. So as a matter of reference and familiarity with the area, I've done some 30 projects along Main Street, most involving remodel and additions. Have with me as my associate, Linda Allred, architect, as an associated office, who has some further expertise in the history of the building. On the end there is Mr. Andrew Wing. The G-U-E-N is pronounced Wing for your ease and information. And otherwise present by Zoom meeting is Carl Anderson, who is going to be the general contractor on the project of Anderson Enterprises.
Carl, are you on the call?
He is.
Okay, great. Question, Mr. Chairman, may I hand out copies of the plan to assist everybody's familiarity? I have some copies here to go.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
My intent here today is get directly to addressing the bullet point items contained in the response to the letters of review from RBD and Fire and Health Department. To get to that specifically, general question, if I may be so informal, have any of you been actually in the building in recent times?
Not I.
Less than a year ago.
You were a year ago?
I was in there about, probably a year, maybe a little less or a little more, right about a year.
Okay, that helps with the familiarity. The whole process here has gotten a little bit complex. We've all been around it and beside it. The package to get to that then for this board of review. Another person involved with it should be mentioned is Chris Morrison, CME. He's a professional engineer in all disciplines of structural, mechanical, and electrical portion of it. You did the repair plan that's under listed that you have there as framing plans there to correct what was observed to be potentially dangerous situations. So part of the question and concern with this in the address of the review of this building was seemed to be taking it as if it was an occupied building. It has not been occupied since the owner took place in with the possession in 2019, I believe it was. There has been some cleanup work being done, but the demolition that is currently there was done by previous owners and then started with a contractor that the owner employed with that, but took something like $270,000 and then declared bankruptcy, left him holding with that. That's part of the hardship that has kept the building vacant and inactive during that time. That's a hardship that's hard to overcome in combination with some family hardships that had to go on at the same time. So we are currently working on rectifying every aspect of that, starting with the what we call the demo plan, existing and demo plan that you see a plan of there, and the structural plans to remedy potentially emergency situations. Create it as a remedy the unsafe building. It does not go to design for an occupancy. That design for an occupancy depends on a lot of business things, but very certainly as we cannot recommend he goes to the investment of a the design and engineering it takes to get to that while it's under a stop work, notice to vacate, and time limit order. The direction on this seems to be that it's a process of condemning the building at the owner's expense, condemning and demolition at the owner's expense. So it can't be advisable until we hear a positive answer from you on this appeal. So the specifics, some of the specifics itemized in the letter, the one that's hit on regularly here by all observants because it's obvious, where there used to be a stair, unsafe, uncode compliant, that had been removed by previous demolition. And the staircase, of course, must be designed properly for the occupancy, the occupant load, the exiting plan, and all other code controls that go into it. From that standpoint, every stair is relatively unique. One of the first steps we do in addition to defining what the occupancy is design the exiting with stairway compliance with that. So that will be done. It is not there now. It's kind of a moot point where it's answering or stating as if this was an existing occupancy. It is unoccupied. The load-bearing wall having been removed was a significant thing. I don't know what was all behind that, but it's a very simple answer contained in the structural plans to size a beam on 2 posts carrying down to the existing foundation. Simple cure, and it is part of the permit application now under review by RBD. So all those items are in place. Building materials removed in certain areas. Yes, there was damaged materials have been removed. That is the only load-bearing piece I'm aware of. There are weaknesses around where the stairway was that will be temporarily braced and approved until the proper stairway design comes in and is structurally evaluated down to foundations. In general, like I keep saying, it has to continue on after this point to be properly designed for the occupancy required. Yes, sir.
You keep referring to future occupancy. Do you know what?
Sir, can you make sure your microphone is on, please?
Thank you.
There it is, there is a current use that is permitted under food services, as it's been form of food services and alcohol beverage servicing in the past. That may or may not change on that portion. There's other ideas have been suggested, but this needs to be followed through with a proper business plan and the design and engineering that goes to it. So it would be totally speculative, even not recommended to do so at this point. It is a very, very important question, but we can't move ahead with without alleviating these stop work orders and the stop work and vacate items.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
The time factor is a very specific concern cited in the normal dangerous building codes about that. And that is under today's conditions, that's actually just unreasonable. We found it not feasible to carry with these there. You've got several projects going on or recently going on with that. And example of that, as opposed to the 60-day and 6-month construction limitation. He had, for instance, at 222 Midland, very minor remodel, refinish onto it with very limited electrical work, zero structural work, but essentially just a more or less a refinish. That took about 2 months. What the general process is, excuse me, I'm going to find the other examples. We have one under construction right now that is took approximately 2 months to get an exterior building permit. The interior remodel portion of it is under RBD review, and it's in week 3. It'll have to be resubmitted with very minor changes, but it takes time to go through there with circulation through all the departments and review on that. That ends up being on the order of 4 to 6 weeks just to gain a remodel permit. And that's with immediate response as best as we can offer. So the time there is unreasonable. The 6-month period is for construction. As many of you are familiar with, it's very difficult to get much of anything completed to that with this climate of busy subcontractors and order times, material supplies, and the like that, where we find that most projects end up taking on an order of a year as opposed to 6 months. So we respectfully request waiving the time limitations. At a minimum, forming something that would be taken as reasonable or could be reviewed. By comparison on that, there's we thought of 6 buildings off the top of our heads here in Woodland Park that have been vacated for up to 10 years. Materials in place and construction place on the order of 2 to 4 years. And a number of those projects, some of which were much more unsafe than this is in its present condition. And we can offer more examples of that if you would like. So this is to contend asking for a reasonable, buildable, and saving process. On the package there, he wanted to make a point that with proper design guidelines, that it will be both historically designated. It has already been through the Woodland Park Historical Preservation Committee and approved for historical designation. But it would be in the context of providing similarity to that through the historical portion and including keeping the addition that was done in 1993 as a complementary piece of structure. With the structural things I mentioned, the order by the city engineer to have the building demolished is unreasonable and unwarranted by comparison to the privileges enjoyed by these other buildings in town. That is the specific on the appeal to refute this order. I'd like to point out that the fire department bottom line on that conclusion is, and the health department cited it as repairable. It doesn't have to be condemned, bulldozed, and demolished at the owner's expense. Their report on that does not require that. Does require that there's repairs be made. The owner definitely wants to be into that, and we are keeping our reputation up above between this architect, All Red Architects, and the builder, Anderson Enterprise, that our reputation relies on completed, safe, and projects that are complementary to the environment. Anyway, I am most likely wanting to get to very specific items on that. Hopefully you've had a chance to wade through the rather lengthy review and reply. They did a quite thorough job on that, but you get to your questions very quickly, because in addition to occupancy, I'm sure that there should be plenty of those. So questions, concerns?
Well, going back, this is Mac McVicker. Going back to the uncertainty around occupancy. How do you know what to design to if you don't know the final use of this building?
You are absolutely correct, and that has to be determined before moving on. Before moving on, I need to ensure that the building is not scheduled for demolition. That is a tremendous investment to get the occupancy, follow the proper code reviews, do the engineering, architectural and engineering, all the life, health, safety aspects of the building. That is an endeavor, and it all depends on the occupancy, just as you're mentioning there. However, could not find it advisable to have to determine that, follow those plans through without having an answer here that places the engineer's schedule for demolition out of the context of this. If you had a building like that, you don't have to answer this, but if you had a building like that and was scheduled for condemnation, would you invest in all that building work with that threat over your head? I'm respectfully requesting that this board remove that stipulation.
To answer your point, which you asked in somewhat a rhetorical manner, but if I owned a building, I would know what I wanted to do with it. And I would be working toward that goal. But I haven't heard that anybody knows, and I assume you're speaking for Mr. Nguyen, but if you could go to the podium, please, sir.
Sure. And be clear that this is the first step in working in that direction, and it is absolutely a required step with it. So you may want to speak to ideas that have been offered.
Yes, my name is Andrew Wing. I'm the owner of the building at 209 East Midland. We have multiple ideas that we want to bring to light, which would bring us to more financial difficulties if we were to move forward without understanding what next process from this meeting holds. We do intend to bring a reasonable and a place of where the community could come together, where we could service the community, or another place that the community can be proud of. And there's many things that we are able to do. There's many things that have come to our attention, especially a museum, a cafe within the museum, a cafe, a restaurant. There's many possible avenues that we're able to take after we understand what we're able to do from this meeting.
Mr. Nguyen, how many years have you owned this building?
I have owned this building since 2019.
So about 6 or 7 years.
Yes, sir. Now, within that time frame that I have owned the building, I understand that 6 and 7 years does seem like a large number. But within that time frame, I not only lost a substantial amount of money, we also had around 4 family deaths, immediate family deaths in the family, not including my grandmother, my aunt, my brother-in-law, and my stepfather.
Yes, I read all that in the package, but I'm failing to connect the dots on how you haven't figured out in 7 years what you want to do with this building and give that direction to Mr. Langley, your contractor,
Yes, sir.
any of that. So I'm just,
I totally understand. I totally understand your guys' position. I deeply do. But within that time frame, during that time, I was only 23 years old, right? I graduated in 2018 in high school. I'm attending college. I have a younger sister. I have an older sister. My older sister, her husband passed away, my brother-in-law, and they had a baby. They have 2 kids. And I became a custodian of both of the kids. And I know regional department, they have seen my nephews once or twice, or any time that we had to go and address the situation. And I ever since the hardship of around 23, trying to raise a family, trying to keep the family together, especially when the heads of the family basically just passed away in an unexpected time frame and so close together. 7 years really just went by in a wash. It really, really did. Because during that time, my stepfather, he was a chef. He knew how to cook, manage your kitchen, work in the restaurant. And of course, my mom, she knows how to run a restaurant, because we used to have a restaurant on 31st Street in Old Colorado City that we had for almost 14 years. And we saved the money to purchase the building and to get everything moving forward for construction. But what happened was that not only getting my younger sister through school, because my younger sister, she's a very smart cookie. She has a very smart head on her shoulders. And we do everything we can, especially in our ethnic community. And I know every family would do the same, is that if you have a sibling that is that smart and that could bring so much potential to the community, you have to invest in them. And the reason why is that my sister, the younger one, actually got into medical school. And all funded by my mom and myself, and her grants that she got because she's really smart. But during that time, within the 7 years, we had to business plan. COVID happened, and during COVID, it was very, very difficult for people to do stuff or basically live life. We live in a very unprecedented time at that moment. So then afterwards, moving forward, I was able to get a job. I also do home health care as well. I take care of elderly people because I know the importance of taking care of people during the time of their senior part of life, and to be able to provide good care to them does take a lot of time. But that has opened up resources for myself to be able, because you have to, for me to get a loan, I would have to have work history. And within that 7 years, we were able to do that. And now moving forward, that's why when Linda reached out to us about the historical preservation and trying to get this building up, that I did not even hear about regional building until that moment. I didn't hear about anything in Woodland Park until when Linda reached out to us. And then she actually conveyed the urgency of what position that the positioning of the building of what it may put you guys into, and we totally understand.
So
But-
question for you, Mac McVicker here. So at some point in the past, you hired a contractor.
Yes, sir.
You had some goal then of what you were turning that building into. What was it?
Yes, it was a restaurant.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And now you're not sure if you want to have a restaurant?
Well, we've been speaking with the Historical Society, and they have brought up quite a few other ideas and quite a few other situations. And because of my other contractor, again, within the 7 years, we did go to court for that.
Right,
Yep.
but my point is, to have hired a contractor,
Yes, sir.
you had a goal for that building. You knew what you wanted to turn it into.
Yes, sir.
And now, listening to you and Mr. Langley, nobody knows what the goal is.
Yeah, well,
So I'm very
sir.
confused as to how you went from having a plan to now there is no plan. But I have to ask Mr. Langley a question.
yes, sir.
Could you take the worst case use of this building from a structural standpoint, stair width, stair load, all of that, just design for that and get this project done?
Well, speaking on, I can't speak for them, but I believe that if we're able to get occupancy, especially for the team I have assembled, we would be able to move forward and get occupancy of that, if that's the question.
When
here.
you say occupancy, in my way of thinking, that means a certificate of occupancy. That means all the work's done. It's ready to be used for whatever you want to use it for. All the signatures and approvals have been done. What is your definition of occupancy?
Everything that follows up to occupancy. So hopefully it would answer all the questions of getting the building back up to par, getting the correct signatures and approval for next steps. Yes, sir.
Martine here. I just have a question. Right now, I believe what we're looking at is the time frame needed to get this permit to address the deficiencies, to make it safe in order to figure out what you're going to do next. Is that?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what the plan is.
Yes.
So right now, you're in a position that I understand it, that you don't have, the time frame is unrealistic.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
what you're asserting. The time frame is unrealistic to get a permit and to complete the work to make the building structurally sound, to handle or to take care of those deficiencies that have caused this stop work order, right? Now, there's something that was mentioned about the historic preservation and needing funding. My question is, do you need that grant funding in order to make the building structurally sound?
Well, it would definitely help, and it would also expedite the matter. Yes. Any type of funding would help, because we did suffer a hardship, a large financial hardship. But we are looking at other avenues as well, including the grants. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Um,
If you have more,
do
here,
you guys have any other
if
questions?
you have more to say, you can keep talking. It's your floor. But if anybody else has questions, I encourage them to jump in here.
Okay, okay, thank you.
It can't be a condition of what this appeal is for because the stop work orders and the notice to vacate are not based on any occupancy. There's no occupancy there. So that is something of a moot point. Nevertheless, it is very clear that that has to be established before we go in because every occupancy has its own live load, sanitary conditions, and especially in the food service area, large number of requirements go right into that. One of the things that has come up that has been popular but you can't make it a condition of this, is to use the top floor as an apartment or conceivably even two. That changes the whole stairway design, the fire ratings required between floors, and a few other things on that. But it is a very viable and appealing occupancy. You mentioned the museum visitor center related to, in conjunction with food service. So that's a direction that it's going and we're prepared to answer to. But again, if this under noticed that it's going to be demolished at the owner's expense, why would that investment go on? The time involved, the stipulation on the time is involved doesn't include design time, engineering time, building permit, application time, bidding time from the contractor. That time, as they're saying, is unreasonable. And if any of you can say different, that you could accomplish the job in less time, we'll see that you get hired.
Mr. Langley, Mr. Nguyen, I want to bring up to both of you. You two were the ones that brought up the term occupancy several times before
Sure.
anybody on this board ever mentioned that word. So you opened yourself up to questions about that.
That's fine.
Because of what you said. I'm sorry.
Yep. And it's not an inappropriate question. It's a question that needs to be answered in order. So anyway, to relate to the matter of time and the conditions placed on these orders is the mission of the moment. If you have looked at any of the pictures, it's not like what seems to be the common rumors of what that's implied. Yes, there was a damaged septic line in the past that's been cleaned up. There's obviously more finished things to be done throughout the building. The addition portion from 1993 is very clean, nice, needs some window replacement and general refinishing, as well as that beam put into place. But otherwise, it's not far from being able to occupy. If that's used for a kitchen, then it becomes a different kind of process. So again, tried to get back to making a point of what is there, what constitutes an unsafe building, and that this is not dangerously unsafe and will be corrected to where it's reasonable to not be a public hazard.
Or Jeff?
Nothing yet.
I'd like to hear the opposing points of view.
Okay. Nobody has any objection. We will give regional the floor.
Good afternoon, Roger Lovell, Regional Building Official. Thank you for your time today. I'm not quite sure what you want to hear. I'll just give some brief statements first and then maybe address some questions. But what we've heard is we've heard admissions by the architect and the appellant of particularly dangerous situations in the building and rectifying some emergency situations. It's the department's position that this building does remain a dangerous building. And I want to clarify one thing. The term unsafe building has been used. The Pikes Peak Regional Building Code, unsafe building comes out of the ICC codes, the International Building Code. The Pikes Peak Regional Building Code, which is the adopted code for the city of Woodland Park, has its own section, section 112, dangerous buildings. And ultimately the goal of section 112 or dangerous buildings in the Pikes Peak Regional Building Code is to rectify these situations, not necessarily through demolition. Demolition can be the ultimate outcome, but ultimately the goal is to repair these buildings. It does require that the building be brought into full compliance with Chapter 3 of the regional building codes, i.e., in this case, the International Building Code, International Mechanical Code, Plumbing Code, and Electrical Code, and so on. The term occupancy has been used. Up until this building was declared dangerous and the notice to vacate was issued, there was nothing to prevent occupancy of this building. It is an existing A2 occupancy. We do not have a copy of the certificate of occupancy, as that would have been issued by Teller County prior to Pikes Peak Regional Building's involvement in Woodland Park in 2014, but it is an existing A2 occupancy. Without that notice to vacate, there's nothing to prevent anybody from occupying or using the building.
Just to put Mike Vicker here, put everybody on the same page. Karen, would you mind explaining to everybody what A2 is so we're all on the same page there? Is that what you said, Roger?
He did
Yes,
say A2, and we'll pretend this is a quiz. I'm not an expert in the building code, but A means assembly. And there's a couple different A1, 2, 3, and I don't know, I'm assuming restaurants fall within that A2 category.
Okay.
So feel free to pile on with anything else.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, an A2 occupancy would be a restaurant occupancy.
So then I have a question for Karen. I think she hopefully can answer this one. We heard a couple of sentences, maybe turning the top floor into apartments under city zoning practices. Wouldn't that require a rezoning?
Doing this from memory, I believe the property is zoned central business district. Yes? It is. Yeah. Assuming the zone district is central business district, within that zone district, residential uses are a permitted use on the upper floors within the Woodland Station overlay. I'd have to go back and check the rest of the zone area to see if that then would be applicable there. I think it is.
So it's not
without-
impossible.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know that it necessitates your phrase rezoning.
Sorry, are you done? Okay, thank you, sorry. To clarify, when we talk about compliance with Chapter 3 of the building codes, both of the uses that we've discussed here, or occupancies being an A2 occupancy throughout, or an A2 occupancy on the lower level with an R2 occupancy or residential occupancy on the second level, such as apartments. Both of those occupancies, just for the sake of this discussion, would also require a full sprinkler system throughout the building.
Martine here. So in order for them to comply with the order, they would not only have to take care of the deficiencies, they'd have to bring it into compliance with A2, with all of those conditions. Is that part of what the building department's requiring?
If that is the proposed use of the building. If there's another use, offices or something like that, then the requirements would be different for that. But that's up for the owner to decide what they intend to use the space for.
Does that fall into the time frame that you're talking about?
It would fall under the time frame established by the building code. Now, some of the reasons for that time frame in the building code is when a building is deemed dangerous, it's a risk to life safety. And the building code wants to make sure that that issue is addressed as timely, in a timely manner, as quickly as possible. Now, the Pikes Peak Regional Building Code does allow for an extension of time on these deadlines, but we have not received a request for an extension of time. Which would allow for an extension of time up to 120 days. An extension of 120 days,
How many times can that be extended?
one time.
Jeff Cahill here. So my understanding was in 240 days, if they could become compliant and then still remain in a, I hate to say the word temporary, in a stasis position of not being fully divulged of what they're going to be using the building for, if they could satisfy all the demands to keep the building open and not being demolished, would that be compatible or acceptable to RBD?
I think if I understood your question correctly, if the question was, can they bring the building into compliance with Chapter 3 of the codes within that time frame, would that be acceptable to the department? Is that a good summary?
Yes.
Then yes, that would be acceptable per the Pikes Peak Regional Building Code. And then in that case, then the dangerous building declaration is rescinded.
All right, so extending this hypothetical a little bit further, if they made all this sizable investment and did not meet the criteria as specified, would they have any other avenue to pursue outside of a court battle?
Well, the next step in the process from the Pikes Peak Regional Building Code standpoint is to issue an order to demolish to the city engineer for Woodland Park, at which point it becomes the responsibility of the city of Woodland Park. At that point, the building department we're no longer involved in the enforcement arm of it. So I can't completely answer that question because it becomes a city of Woodland Park issue at that time.
Piggybacking on Mr. Langley's euphemistic question to our fearless leader, Mr. McVicker, that's a heck of an investment to speculation to make without any quote unquote guarantees of being allowed to pursue the ultimate goal.
And please understand, I can't speak to that because as building official for the building department, my job is to ensure life safety of these structures. And we've also had the fire chief indicate that this is a dangerous building as well. There's total, so for those of you who may not be familiar with Section 112 or the dangerous building section in the code, there's up to 17 criteria to be met to establish a dangerous building. Only which one of them has to be satisfied to be considered a dangerous building. In this case, we've identified 5 criteria to include the letter from, or the assessment from the fire chief as well.
Thank you, Mr. Lovell.
Thank you.
Anybody else from McVicker here? Anybody else from regional want to add any more comments from regional perspective?
Yeah, sure.
Luke Sanderson, Regional Building Department. I am the non-compliance supervisor. I was the inspector that conducted the site visit out to 209 East Midland Avenue. Was just going to run through our inspection blue sheet that we did and kind of pinpoint, like Roger was saying, the 17 criteria that could be or could potentially classify this building as dangerous, and go over the ones that we looked at and saw while out on site. The first one, and I'll read it, is any door or aisle, passageway, stairway, or other means of exit not sufficient width or size or not so arranged as to provide safe and adequate means of exit in case of fire or panic. Of course, we did yes on that one, as the staircase to the upper level has been removed. The only way to access the upper level currently is via an extension ladder. Number 2, is there any stress in any material, member, or portion thereof due to all dead or live loads more than 1 or 1/2 times its working stress or stresses allowed in the code for new buildings or similar structures proposed or purpose or location? We answered yes on that, as there was that load-bearing wall in the kitchen that had been removed. That load-bearing wall is supporting the second floor structure. Next one that we are pinpointing on is number 4. Is any portion of member or appurtenance thereof likely to fail or to become detached or dislodged or to collapse and thereby injure persons or damage property? We did yes. We're referring back to that load-bearing wall that has been removed that supported the second floor in the kitchen area, as well as the beam being removed. And then also the walls surrounding the staircase being removed. The next one that comes in is number 7. Is any building or structure or portion thereof likely to partially or completely collapse because of 7.1 dilapidation, deterioration, or decay, 7.2 faulty construction, 7.3 removal or movement or instability of any portion of the ground necessary for the purpose of supporting? We did yes. We did 7.2 specifically for faulty construction, as building materials such as the beam in the wall and additional walls and staircase have been removed in multiple areas of the building. Our next one that we then come to is number 15, which is any building or structure because of dilapidation, condition, deterioration, damaged, and inadequate exits, lack of sufficient fire-resistant construction, faulty electrical wiring, gas connections, or heating apparatuses, or other causes determined by the fire chief to be a fire hazard? Yes, we answered on that one, due to receiving that letter of the assessment from the fire chief. And all of this was done on April 13th of 2026. At the time, the building was not occupied.
No question.
Few minutes.
Yes, ma'am, you've got the floor.
Thank you for your time here today, and thank you for the appellant and his team. What do you consider this a closing statement or a closing argument in follow-up to the representations that were made here today? It is the department's position that the appellant has not appealed and is not appealing here today the dangerous building declaration. Nowhere in the documents filed by the appellant for purposes of today's hearing do you have any denial of the declaration of dangerous building. Instead, you have a list of admissions of the criteria that Mr. Lovell, as the building official, has talked to you about and affirmed in follow-up to the order and notice to abate and vacate that was issued on May 28, 2026. So again, I will affirm that the appellant has not, and today also has not, disputed the dangerous building declaration, instead made admissions thereto. For purposes of their only matter addressed here today, which appears to be time limitations, not feasible, and that is the language they have used in some of their submittal documentation to you, time limitations are not within the authority and discretion of this Board of Review. They are at the sole discretion of the building official in accordance with the code that City of Woodland Park has adopted. And this is in accordance with section RBC 112.4.2 of the Dangerous Building Declaration section of the code. It gives the discretion to the building official to allow additional time if such is requested of the building department. And I will direct your attention to the adoption ordinance number 14146, series 2023, effective date May 18, 2023, implementation date June 30 of 2023, which is just a reminder of when City of Woodland Park adopted the Pikes Peak Regional Building Code and the very specific section that I referenced to you, granting the discretion and authority to the building official, not Board of Review, to consider time limitations. And that is the only argument we have heard today or statement by the appellant, but it is outside of your authority for purposes of today, unless all administrative remedies have been exhausted by the appellant, and they have not, because you heard the building official testify today that Pikes Peak Regional Building Department has not received a request for extension of time by the appellant. What this means that there's still available administrative remedies that the appellant can take and consider, and that is through and including July 27th of 2026. So there is still time for the appellant to consider that remedy. Until then, the issue of time limitation is not ripe. And in legal terms, translating that means you don't have the authority to hear it.
So basically, this is Martine. Basically, the process, as I understand it, they need to go ahead and appeal the time frame with regional building.
It is not an appeal. It is a request for extension of time.
Extension, excuse me, an extension of time, and then go through that process and then come back here if everything else is exhausted at that point. Is that?
If they're not happy, if an extension of time is requested and such is granted, and at that time they're not satisfied with the amount of time at the discretion as granted, if granted by the building official, then yes, they may pursue an additional appeal on that particular issue only. At that time, you would have authority to consider further extension of time. However, we will likely advise you to be very careful to grant such additional time extensions because they will require some policing. Generally, none of us do that. The building department does not have the authority nor the resources to police proper execution of those time limitations. And you need to be prepared that the building department will issue an order to demolish quickly after a time limitation is not met. Any questions?
I don't have any.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Chair, just trying to move us according to the rules and order, you may now take any public comment, if there's anybody.
Any public comment? I see Ms. Allred has raised her hand.
I'm just going to.
Would you announce who you?
Oh, I'm Linda Allred. I'm a licensed architect and have practiced in this community since 1991. I also serve as co-chair of the Historic Preservation Committee. I am, however, speaking today as a concerned citizen regarding all of these matters. This is the first time since I've been in Woodland Park that I've had to deal with this, and it's been a challenge as a professional and as a member of the community, because the city of Woodland Park has come out with both fists fighting to Andrew. And a lot of what we're doing is just responding to things that we've never responded to before in my career here in Woodland Park or in any other place. So I'm here just to, one of the things I'd like to mention is that this discussion is more than one building. It is about whether the city of Woodland Park will uphold the values and commitments that it adopted over the years regarding historic preservation. And before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge Steve Plute, who much of this information that I'm about to repeat was also mentioned in the Historic Preservation Committee meeting to recommend the preservation of this building as a historic landmark. The city's own planning documents repeatedly emphasize the importance of preserving our historic resources. The 2021 Comprehensive Plan on page 32 states that community identity is essential to Woodland Park. It recognizes the preserving the visual quality of our community, helps maintain our small town character, and encourages the celebration of our architectural history and heritage. On page 108 of that same 2021 Comprehensive Plan states that the Historic Preservation Committee will protect and preserve the historic and cultural heritage of the city through historic landmark designation. Likewise, in the 2019 Woodland Park Placemaking Plan promotes enhancing our community by celebrating its mountain western heritage. Our municipal code is equally clear. Chapter 2.44 concerning historic preservation, protection, and landmark designation states that Woodland Park is to promote the cultural well-being of the community through the protection and preservation of the city's historic and cultural heritage. These are not simply aspirations, they are adopted policies that reflects the city's commitment to preserving its history. On July 7th, the Historic Preservation Committee unanimously approved the application to designate 209 East Midland Avenue as a local historic landmark because it satisfies all the city's established designation criteria. That recommendation will be considered by the City Council on August 6th. A lot of what we've been dealing with Andrew is with his lack of funding because of his corrupt contractor. We've suggested that through the Historic Preservation Avenue and the state funding, that this would allow him to move forward with the preservation process. Woodland Park has also voluntarily sought designation as a certified legal government, a CLG, demonstrating its commitment to encouraging and expanding local historic preservation efforts. In addition, Woodland Park proudly participates in the Colorado Main Street program, whose mission is to revitalize historic downtown commercial districts through preservation-based economic development. The city's own Main Street program states that it seeks to engage the community in historic preservation, downtown revitalization, economic development, and the promotion of a strong business climate. Taken together, these plans, ordinances, and programs present a consistent vision. Woodland Park values its historic buildings and intends to preserve them whenever possible. That brings me to the question before us. If historic preservation is truly one of Woodland Park's guiding principles, why is one of the city's remaining historic buildings facing condemnation and possible demolition? Why is restoration not being pursued with the same commitment reflected in the city's own adopted plans and policies? Why is this particular structure being targeted when there are other vacant and deteriorating buildings within the city that require even more extensive rehabilitation and currently have no identified use of occupancy? One of these particular locations is owned by the city of Woodland Park. It is in vastly worse condition than this building, and it is not under consideration currently of being condemned and demolished. These are fair questions because the city's own adopted policies suggest that preservation, not demolition, should be the first consideration. Finally, I ask the board to consider the permanent consequences of this decision. Because of the property's current zoning and the size of the lot, if this building is demolished, another building cannot simply be constructed in its place. Demolition will not create an opportunity for redevelopment. It will create an empty lot. More importantly, it will erase a piece of Woodland Park's history that can never be recreated. Historic buildings are not renewable resources. Once they are demolished, they are gone. As an architect, I know that old buildings can present challenges, but I also know that rehabilitation is often possible when preservation becomes the objective rather than demolition. And I might be really naive here, but isn't every building under construction a dangerous building? There are no stairs. There are no active sprinkler systems. There are all sorts of hazards in a building that is under construction, and this building is legitimately under construction. It was stated by the structural engineer that we had review. Yes, there are situations that need to be fixed. There are easy remedies for these things to be fixed. At the moment, we have spent all of our energies just fighting the city and trying to keep the building from being condemned and demolished. We have every intention of fixing this building. That is our primary goal. We'd just like to be given the opportunity to do so.
Mac McVicker here. I have to take exception to a couple of your comments. You said, is not every building under construction a dangerous building? Not really. I've never seen a building under construction with an open hole in the floor that will let somebody drop down several feet without a railing around it, a safety railing.
And we've addressed that in our demolition plan.
Is that in place today?
There are buildings.
Yes or no, please?
No.
Okay. The second thing, load-bearing walls. Every house I've worked on, as walls were put up to support a laminated beam or whatever, was in place. We never had an unsupported wall.
There's nobody in the building.
Pardon?
The building is unoccupied. The building is not going to fall down on its own. The structural engineer said so. There's nobody in the building.
But
It is
you made the
unoccupied.
point- You made the point that all buildings under construction are dangerous buildings, and I'm countering that point because I consider that a false statement on your behalf.
I disagree.
Because when you go to a building under construction, and we have builders on this dais, when they put a wall up, it is properly supported. Maybe temporary bracing, but it's still properly supported. So be careful of what you say, because we're a very knowledgeable team up here, and I will challenge you on any point you try to make that's wrong.
Well,
Thank you.
people wear hard hats for a reason. While they're in the building and it's being constructed, there are dangers.
So I have to ask. I have a question for Mr. Nguyen. When you bought this building, I saw the pictures that were taken by Luke, I believe, right? I saw the stairs missing. Who took those stairs down? Was that the condition of the building when you bought it?
And before Mr. Wing answers, could we please get him the microphone for the record?
I'm sorry, can you ask the question again?
All right, when you bought that building, were the stairs already removed?
No, the contractor that we hired did all that.
Well, I'm sorry that he was not more confident and professional, but just like the hole in the floor to get access to the crawl space below. Was there not some wall around that, or a railing or something?
Previously there was, but during our first demolition, like our first demo set that we submitted into regional building, it stated clearly of what was supposed to come out during that demolition phase.
Okay. I have nothing more, Ms. Alvin.
All I would like is more support from the city to follow their own ordinances and committees that they have established that promote preservation as opposed to demolition.
Thank you. Anybody else want to say anything? Is there any further discussion? Mr. Nguyen wants to say something.
Yeah, thank you. So just, I understand that, I was the one that said the occupancy thing, and again, I'm not that educated in terminology, as you can see when you asked me the questions about that. But from what I remember during the phases of the construction, when we did submit for demo and everything, the project, it was still considered a construction site. And then because of the negligence of the contractor that did that to us, I'm trying to find other remedies that we can go inside and remedy it. And I do want to state that I do have a team that is highly qualified, highly educated, and does have a placement for securing and making all of those things that the regional department requested. And I just want to state back that the fire department also said that these are all fixable items.
Mr. Chair, when you're done with Mr. Wing, Carl Anderson on Zoom would like to speak. So when you're ready, let me know.
Let's go ahead and let Carl speak.
Excellent.
Carl, unmute yourself. You should be able to speak.
Can you hear me?
Sir.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. First off, I'd like to address that I was not the previous contractor that worked with Mr. Wing on that building and had nothing to do with that issues that he's faced in the past there. I have met with Langley and the engineer in that building and looked at some of the deficiencies and issues with the building and discussed remedies with the engineer and Mr. Langley at that time. I do believe those issues can be addressed. They can be fixed. Timeline wise, as most of you know in the building world, it is a crazy situation with getting help, with getting any sort of professional service done or not. And just for an instance today, as a matter of fact, I was talking with another building owner in the city of Woodland Park that needs a switch out of a electrical panel involving Core and their engineering team. Their engineering team gave them a 4 to 6 month timeline just to look at the remedy for this particular building to fix that engineering. So timelines are not ours, and in the construction world, we are, we're beholden to the world we live in. And a 120-day extension may not be enough in this scenario to fix the deficiencies. Now, they addressed 5 different deficiencies the building inspector, I believe it was, spoke about. And I believe if those goalposts don't get moved and there's a clear path, it can be done in a timely fashion. What is timely? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Or is it longer? I don't know the answer to that question. But when it is completed, it'll be done right. And I know there's been issues in the past with Mr. Wing and his previous contractor not following the code to get the demolition part done correctly. And I will say that if he doesn't follow what the engineering and the architect designs and doesn't follow my instructions, I will drop him. I will take my name off that permit and he will be on his own. You guys know that from my experience. I had issues with another commercial building in town a couple of years ago who the owner rogued off and did his own thing, didn't follow engineering, didn't follow the plans, and I took my name off that permit. Now, I don't know, as far as I can see, there's never been any inspections on that building. and that building is currently being used as far as I know. So I do think we need to address at some point here in the city that the City of Woodland Park Planning and Building Department must have eyes if they're treating two different buildings differently. And that should not happen. If there's an opportunity to fix this building, and it may take a little more time, well, then we need to address that time, and I'd be happy to address that with Mr. Lovell and his team, because if it can be fixed, it can be fixed. So I do think we need to address that. So if we're allowed to go forward and we're allowed to proceed, that's what we'll do. But it also sounds like that we need to get sound advice on a plan from the building department and the building official on how to apply for that additional time and get that done. Because it's not always clear what you guys will allow or not allow a customer or a contractor to do to get those remedies fixed. And if we just have to come up with that solution on our own and it's rejected, it'd be nice to know the pathway and have the help from the building department to have the pathway to find those remedies and get them done. So I understand, according, I believe it was the attorney for Regional Building Department, that the Board of Review is very limited in today, but perhaps it's time we had a real meeting with building officials down at RBD, with the architect, with the engineer, and come up with some remedies that'll work for all the parties.
Thank you, Carl. Any comments on Carl's comments?
This is Mr. Cahill. I believe the city RBD attorney mentioned that July 27th is a deadline for asking for an extension.
Virginia, that is correct.
Mr. Nguyen, would you like to speak? No. Okay, thank you.
And now the applicant does get a chance for rebuttal, so that's perfect. Oh, is there another public comment before we move on?
Hi, folks. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Steve Palute, and I would like to emphasize that the choice you make today will impact the future of a historically significant building in Woodland Park. The building stands as a landmark that served as the gateway to Woodland Park for decades, being the birthplace of ideas that played a pivotal role in shaping this town, including the current Memorial Park. The present owner is highly motivated towards his goal of total restoration, and he has already invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to do so. He is attempting to do exactly what the city wants, which is to eliminate what some refer to as an eyesore and a blight on Main Street. Today presents you with a chance to strengthen private property rights in Woodland Park. And I hope you will consider this in making your decision. And I would also like to say that as a person, I'm 75 years old. I grew up here since I was a little boy. I knew Mrs. Voss, and I just think it would be a horrible shame to tear this building down that has such significance to the history of Woodland Park when it doesn't need to be tore down. When you got a fellow right over there that's willing to spend a bunch of money to bring that building back up to a viable resource for the city and tax base of Woodland Park. I just don't see why they want to tear it down when it doesn't need to be. If there's any questions, I would gladly answer them, but that's it.
This is Mac McVicker, and this comment goes to you and Ms. Allred. You're attacking the board today because
I'm not I have to interrupt. I am not attacking you at all. Not one bit, and I'm sorry you feel that way. I, in my opinion, said nothing that attacks you.
Okay, I take that back. My apologies. Have you given as much time and energy to convince Mr. Nguyen to get this done as you are here today asking us to give even more time? I mean, it's been 7 years. How long ago did you first interface with Mr. Nguyen?
Must have been about 3 or 4 months ago when I first met him.
Okay, thank you.
And what, I don't understand the question in regard to my comments, though.
Everybody is talking about, or you and Ms. Allred made a very passionate plea to keep this historical building. I have nothing against historical buildings. I visit historical buildings. But you've had ample opportunity to engage Mr. Nguyen over the last 7 years to do something with this building and instead of letting it continue to deteriorate. And I've not heard you or Ms. Allred say what you've done to that point. I'm sorry.
Well, have been very active in historical preservation for 35 years.
So what about this building?
And this
Why we're
building
here
here is why I'm standing here right this second, is what I'm doing. I'm trying to help preserve this building. I live in Lake George. I do not receive the UPass Courier or whatever it's called today. I did not know or realize this building was in jeopardy until 6 months ago, maybe 9 months ago. I wasn't prepared to tell you that time frame, but until I read in the paper that the fella over at Beer Works wanted to tear it down, that was the first I knew about the what people think of that building. And that was when I started springing into action. And I talked to the Historic Preservation Board, which is Linda Allred is on. And that was when I first gotten involved in it. And I got involved in it as soon as I found out it was in danger.
Thank you for that historical perspective.
Thank you.
So I think unless somebody has something new to add, Mr. Nguyen, as the applicant, will let you speak.
I also think somebody from Pikes Peak also would like to say something as well, Mr. Chair.
And I just want to state the fact that, yes, they did come out to reach out to me during this time frame, but Regional Department Building, after we submitted the plans of the demo, never followed up until 7 years later as well, until today, to find out what's going on into the building. So I just want to put that on the timeline as well.
Thank you. Somebody from regional had something to.
Virginia Kuchitska again, thank you. I just want to make a statement so that we have sufficient record should there be an appeal. There have been at least 2 public comments, very particularly focusing or stating that we are here to decide today the demolition of the subject building. You're not. An order to demolish has not been issued by Pikes Peak Regional Building Department, so that is not an issue for the appeal that you are hearing today. Should an order to demolish be issued and any and all administrative remedies are exhausted at that time, and a timely appeal is filed, that would be the right time to consider the ordered demolition of the building. There has been no order to demolish issued. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
I think we can turn to the rebuttal for the applicant.
Very appropriate to the orders at hand. There to clarify what the decisions to be made and what the process of that is. It frankly comes news to us that you do not have jurisdiction over some of the things that were cited as an order at the request of Woodland Park. I do totally respect and work with Regional Building Department consistently. There's some things that we're trying to align and find out what the consequences of that are mean. Yes, he admitted, you could take it as admission of inadequacies in the building for creating a hazardous building. Those plans in front of you are to rectify exactly that. Now, what comes as a total surprise is that where we've submitted these plans you don't expect an answer. We typically wouldn't expect anything except a very quick rejection by the architecture department. So it goes through all the other departments unscathed. It gets resent through and often runs to a third time by the time we've answered things that come out of blue and are not necessarily applicable on it. Those guys are loaded. They work hard. They have a very valuable job to do, but the process is not quick. So the point is what is it to relieve this paperwork that orders to very directly? It says the engineer is going to be authorized for the city engineer to require demolition of the building. That's what it says. So what are we doing here with a confusing set of who's in charge of that? And you do definitely want to follow through standard protocol on that. But again, she's stating July 27th. That's only, 2 weeks? Less than 2 weeks from now. But there's a 60-day, so the time expires at that time. And so where does this timeline come in? When does that start? We have submitted plans for rectifying dangerous situation that includes putting a guardrail around the hole. It does include those obviously dangerous type of things, relieving a non-bearing wall. So that's not a big deal and not unusual in the construction industry. What do we do from here? Is my request that you authorize some kind of review, at least, for the timeline from the board, from RBD. So far, it's said that they're responsible for that appeal. Who at RBD is responsible for that? We get plenty of phone calls running around through with that and spend a lot of hours trying to figure this stuff out. My office administration has spent a good deal of time with Mr. Neville. That is, did I pronounce that right? I'm sorry. Has spent a good deal of time finding out what the procedure and protocols are with that already. And while I was very courteous and polite, we're still here today with no answer and whether it's going to lead to a demolition order from here. So you need to clarify who's responsible for what do we do, and when does that time start? That time, how can you say it's only 60 days from there when that time is up in 14 days? I mean, that's not possible. So we need to see who really gets responsibility for that, what the process is, and otherwise relieve at least what your authority to do so is, and that's respectfully requested. On the inspection, item 1 was exiting. The building is unoccupied. Exiting requires the number of people, the exit path, and the other associated exit portions in Chapter 33 of the International Building Code. 1.5 times the working stress of members was generally reviewed with the engineer, who basic comment was, this building is not condemnable. That's from a professional engineer. And any member likely to fail. Keeps coming back to the one place where we'll have a beam in place and 2 posts. Duh, it's done. Point of likely to collapse was all going around the stairway. Yes, it has to be designed. It has to be built. Any building kind of got out of line with Mrs. Allred there that about building under construction. Yes, you do put a guardrail around there, but not in the day that, not while the framing is going on. Since this stopped during building permit, it leaves an unsafe condition that we're requesting be considered under what directives we get from this board. The fire hazards, that's a very legitimate type of thing, of course. We don't want any fires. That's disastrous. Please note on Fire Chief Lambert's bottom line, it is recommended that the structure remain unoccupied until all identified hazards and code deficiencies and structural concern have been evaluated and corrected. That's what we're looking for total avenue to finish. That's exactly what we want to do. Not condemn it, not put it down, not leave it under the restrictions of violations for unreasonable constraints from the building department. So you have a significant task to sort out here. The time is how that gets established and when it gets started from was there. I would appeal that you be reviewed, whatever discussion it takes, that time starts from, at a minimum, starts at earliest time that we submitted plans to rectify these hazardous situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Langley.
Actually, while I'm here, any questions further from me? This gets into the technical part of it a little heavier.
I think we're done with everybody having a chance to talk. And now I've got to turn to our city attorney representative
Yes, sir.
for suggested wording on a motion to vote on.
Is there any discussion that you all would like to have prior to? And if I may, I would just like to reiterate some code provisions for you all, just as a reminder prior to discussion or prior to any motions, Mr. Chair. So pursuant to the Woodland Park Municipal Code 15.01.030, any person aggrieved by any order, decision, or determination of the building official may appeal to the Board of Review. So before you today is the building official's order, which you all have reviewed, right? That is what we are here to determine. And then pursuant to 15.01.040, three sentences down, the board may reverse or affirm wholly or partly, or may modify the order, decision, or determination appealed from, and shall make such order or decision as ought to be made, and to that end shall have all the powers of the building official. So that's just a reminder of what action you all are able to do today, pursuant to what the appeal is before you. If there's any questions, let me know.
Well, back to my previous question.
Mhm.
So normally, and we've all been on this board for most of us a decade or more. It's very simple language where a section of the code is being appealed.
Sure.
Today, it's rather nebulous in my mind.
Okay.
And because of the potential of appeal, I want legal advice on what would constitute a good motion that we can vote on that's clear to both parties.
Okay.
And knowing that either party could appeal.
Okay.
So could you help us out with
Sure.
that, please?
So for example, you could say, I motion to reverse or affirm or modify the dangerous building declaration. And now I'm reading just what's on section 7 of the agenda.
Yep.
The dangerous building declaration by the Pikes Peak Regional Building Department pursuant to the Pikes Peak Regional Building Code, section RBC 112.1.7, notice and order and notice to vacate issued by Pikes Peak Regional Building Department dated May 28th, 2026. So it's as simple as that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Easy for you to say.
I know, it's a lot of words, but luckily most of the bulk will be already on your agenda. It's just the reverse, affirm, or modify. And then if you were to modify, we can walk through what that motion language would look like.
So up to us now, guys. Any comments on?
Well, I'd like to see them take advantage of the time allocation that's been mentioned for the 27th of July.
Okay.
To make that appeal, to stop the clock, basically, so they can get their ducks in a row. That's my heart.
Yep.
That's kind of what I kind of written out.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about too.
All right, so I'm gonna propose a motion. And if it's not legally correct,
I will help.
And hold that thought real quick.
Well, they're whispering. We should whisper too.
okay.
Okay, Mr. Chair, go ahead and make your motion and I can let you know.
Michaela, we're gonna let you say the words.
Okay.
We will say so moved, and then we will have a second.
Okay, so for the record, I'll just state Michaela Salaji, City Attorney. I am not on the Board of Review, but just for record and clarity, I am providing the board with a motion for them to review and to modify as they deem appropriate based on the action they are wishing to take today. So the Board of Review would make a motion to affirm the declaration made by the Pikes Peak Regional Building Department pursuant to the Pikes Peak Regional Building Code, Section RBC 112.1.7, notice and order and notice to vacate issued by Pikes Peak Regional Building Department dated May 28th, 2026, but are directing the applicant, Mr. Andrew Nguyen, to take advantage of the extension of time rights available to him under the Pikes Peak Regional Building Code.
And to clarify that time, July 27th, 2026.
And the timeline to submit such extension would be July 27th, 2026.
So I have a question. Do we want to affirm or do we want to reverse or put in stasis?
No, that's a modify.
Do we want to modify?
We're modifying what she just read by adding in the time for July 27th. Basically, for the parties to get
I'd
together.
like to see the time that the clock stopped. That's my conviction because of what Carl had said. It takes so many months and we have no guarantees that they can execute what they need to have done and invest that time and money without some sort of a goalpost.
Martine here. I think that the only thing that we can do if we've been asked to decide whether we're affirming it's a dangerous building or not. And so, I mean, if you're just looking at the code, RBC code, I'm not seeing anything. I haven't heard anything to deny that those conditions exist. So I'm not really sure what we can do,
And going back.
you
to
know, other than the
Virginia's-
time, in which we can't touch the time.
Right.
They have to take care of that from. a
And
regional
going back to
perspective.
Virginia's points on what we're really here able to decide today.
Right.
You're 100% correct. So Jeff, we have to set aside your concerns because that's outside of our ruling today. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay,
I don't like it, but I understand.
okay.
Property rights mean a lot to me.
No disagreement. But this,
And I understand 6 or 7 years is a long time to let this drag on, and I've seen the eyesore. I've been here 12 years, and I've seen it try to be attempted to be utilized as a restaurant, and I walked in there once and didn't go back. It was a disorganized, unsightly place.
so are we all in agreement as a board as to what Michaela said with the extension to July 27th? Do I hear a second?
Well, for the record, was there somebody who made a motion? Or well,
Well,
you're just building consensus. Okay, I apologize. I got confused there.
no, that's fine. It's very confusing to all of us too. So we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
We don't have a motion, unless you just made it.
Well, I said we would accept,
But one of us has to say so moved to her. You want me to do that?
so moved.
There you go. And I'll second it then.
Okay. Madam Director, would you,
Do you need to discuss the motion now that you have a motion and a second?
Yeah, so basically, we're affirming we have a dangerous building,
yes,
but we are recommending that the parties involved pursue what's applicable and allowable so far as a time extension. And if a time extension is not issued by RBD, are we then saying the sort of Damocles has fallen and they've lost all hope. That's my concern.
With all they've done is Jeff Smith, all they've done is if he doesn't do it by the 27th, even if they just put you into the next step. If they say, no, we're not gonna give them extension, then it comes back and goes to another step. Unfortunately for you guys, I've been on board reviews for more than 40 years, so I kind of know how this works. So anyway, it's up to you. Talk to them, or Dave will talk to them.
Yeah, can we put a caveat in there? Saying that they need to have interaction with RBD to get this worked out, or is that something that?
Well, that's not necessary.
That's implied.
It's implied. Anyway, so
Martine, you started to say something. Okay, no further discussion. We're ready for a vote. Madam Director?
Certainly. Jeff Cahill,
Aye.
Martine Vogel,
Aye.
Chair McVicker,
Yes.
and Jeff Smith.
yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
So before everybody leaves, I just want to point out to the applicant here, you do have the right to appeal this vote. That right is for 30 days, and you have to submit your request for an appeal to the Woodland Park City Council in writing to both Director Schminke and our clerk and recorder, Monica Mendoza. If you miss that deadline, this decision is final. And in light of the compressed timeline both parties are facing, I suggest you guys get together as soon as possible.
You still need to know who to get together with.
Pardon?
People from RBD, but you call one of them, or who does this go to? Department decide.
We need a microphone, please.
There it is, right behind you.
Oh, she's just gonna go.
Thank you.
Virginia Kuchiska, 24 Regional Building. You need to contact the building official. That is Mr. Roger Lavo right here in the blue shirt. And if we have a business card available, we'll give it to you before we leave. But his contact information is also publicly available through the department's website. He is your direct point of contact.
We have no other unfinished business. We have no new business. No more open discussion for anything I'm aware of. I hereby declare this meeting adjourned.